You know, when you walk into literally any bookstore today, there's always that one massive section.
Oh, yeah, the self-help aisle.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It is
Right.
completely dedicated to helping you find your purpose.
Yeah.
You've got the guided journals, the thick self-help books, the memoirs of people who, like, sold all their possessions and went off the grid just to find themselves.
Yeah. It is a whole industry.
It really is. And it is presented almost like a DIY home renovation project. Like, you just need the right mental tools, the right daily habits, and boom, you can build your own meaning from the ground up.
It is a deeply ingrained, highly empowering narrative for modern society, honestly. I mean, it treats the meaning of life as something entirely democratic,
Right.
something that belongs completely to the individual. Putting ourselves in the driver's seat of our own existence is comforting, you know? We like to believe that if we just think hard enough, we can crack the code of why we are here.
You are the architect of your own life, right?
Yeah.
But then you step into the framework we are exploring in this deep dive today, and suddenly that entire bookstore section is rendered totally irrelevant.
Completely irrelevant.
Yeah, we're looking at a philosophy that doesn't just disagree with our modern pursuit of self-discovery.
Yeah.
It fundamentally rejects the idea that we even have the biological or spiritual hardware to discover it.
It demands a complete flip of the script. I mean, instead of looking inward for meaning, this perspective insists that we must look strictly upward.
Upward, wow.
Exactly. It introduces a rigid, structural, cosmic hierarchy of consciousness where humanity is decidedly not sitting at the top of the pyramid.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today's deep dive is based on a highly provocative translated essay. It's titled The Meaning of Life, and it was written by D.A. Buddha on July 28, 2024, and edited by Kinyu.
A very specific, very recent text.
Right, and our mission today is to completely step outside your usual worldview. We're going to try on a completely different, almost jarring paradigm for understanding human existence.
It is definitely a paradigm shift for anyone listening.
For sure. I mean, you have probably read a dozen self-help books or listened to gurus telling you how to find your why. But today's source material looks at all that frantic human striving and is, well, literally amused by it.
Amused, yeah.
So the essay starts right out of the gate by examining the two main ways we argue about life's purpose on the internet.
Yeah, those two common perspectives really do dominate almost every forum or comment section out there.
They totally do.
The first camp leans heavily into a kind of weary nihilism. It is the belief that life has no grand, overarching meaning at all.
This biology.
Right. We are simply born into this biological machine, and from that moment on, we just have to work incredibly hard to avoid starving or freezing. It is a purely survivalist, almost bleak view of reality as a constant grind.
That is definitely the late-night doom scroll perspective. You are just grinding away to pay bills until the clock runs out, and there is no hidden prize at the end.
Exactly. And then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum is the existentialist approach we touched on with the bookstore analogy earlier.
The DIY camp.
Yep. This camp believes the meaning of life lies entirely within human hands. Like, whatever meaning we actively assign to our lives, whether that is raising a family, painting masterpieces, or building a company, that subjectivity becomes its objective meaning.
So we have the nothing matters camp and the everything means what I want it to mean camp. And millions of people are fiercely debating this. They're writing dissertations, doing deep dives, arguing endlessly.
Endless debates.
Yeah. And the author watches this grand, collective human philosophical effort and literally says, watching and listening to people discuss the meaning of life amuses me.
Amuses is such a loaded word choice here.
It really is.
There is a distinct condescension, but it doesn't read as malicious, you know? It is the polite amusement of an adult watching toddlers argue over the rules of a complex board game they don't even know the name of.
That is a great way to put it. It is like we are characters in video game fiercely debating what the point of the game is.
Oh, I like that.
Like one character says, well, there is no point. We just dodge obstacles until our health bar hits 0. And another character says, no, the point is whatever we decide, maybe it is collecting the most gold coins.
Right. They're totally missing the meta layer.
Exactly. They are having this intense, high-stakes debate, completely ignoring the fact that a programmer actually wrote the game's code for a specific, predetermined reason outside of their digital world.
They cannot see outside the screen.
Right. But I have to push back a little here on behalf of you, the listener. It is honestly a bit jarring to be told that our deeply personal, soul-searching conversations are just amusing to someone else. Why is this essay so convinced that we're getting it completely wrong?
What's fascinating here is how the author completely strips away human agency in this specific arena. Well, the essay operates on one absolute foundational rule of existence, and that rule is this. The meaning of a lower-level life form is strictly defined by a higher-level life form.
Okay.
It is never, under any circumstances, defined by the life form itself.
So a creation cannot define its own purpose. The creator or the manager defines it.
Exactly.
So a toaster sitting on a counter trying to write its own user manual is fundamentally absurd.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
I mean, it lacks the vantage point required to understand what toast even is, let alone why a human wants it.
That captures the dynamic perfectly. And to illustrate just how blind a lower-level form is to its own utility, the author uses a series of incredibly vivid, unromantic analogies from agriculture and the animal kingdom.
Yeah, the essay paints these scenes that almost feel like fables, honestly. We get the image of a piglet looking up at its mother and asking, "Mom, what is the meaning of a pig's life?"
It is a striking image.
It is. And then we have a dog sitting in a yard pondering, what is the meaning of a dog's life? And then there's this really poignant image of a cow actively plowing a field, feeling the physical exhaustion of the work, and asking its companion, what is the meaning of our lives as cows?
And by granting these animals a momentary spark of philosophical inquiry, the text sets up a pretty devastating reality check.
Oh, totally.
The author asks the reader directly, do pigs, dogs, and cows actually know the meaning of their lives?
And what's the answer?
The conclusion is absolute. They absolutely do not.
It is not just an issue of brain capacity, though, right?
No, not at all.
Because the essay implies this is a necessary structural ignorance. Like, think about the brutal reality of this. If pigs were born fully knowing that their ultimate fate is to be slaughtered for bacon, how could they possibly live their lives?
They couldn't. That ignorance is a load-bearing pillar in this framework.
And the load-bearing pillar. Wow.
Yeah, ignorance isn't just a lack of data. It is a vital prerequisite for the system to function. I mean, if the pig possessed the higher-level knowledge of the slaughterhouse, the sheer terror and despair would paralyze it.
It would completely freeze.
Right. It wouldn't eat, it wouldn't grow, and it would fail to fulfill its biological imperative. The entire agricultural system would basically break down.
The pig just needs to eat and gain weight.
Exactly.
If it is paralyzed by existential dread, it becomes a terrible product. So the ignorance is practically a protective feature designed into the lower-level life form by the higher-level manager.
And who actually holds the true knowledge of the pig's existence in this scenario?
Humans do.
Right, humans. The text argues that the meaning of these animals is known only to humans because human life is of a higher hierarchical order.
We set the parameters of their reality.
Yes. We breed them, we dictate their diets, we harvest them, we possess the macro context that the animal completely lacks.
So, if we follow this logic that utility requires ignorance, what happens when we look at things that have no consciousness at all?
The author actually addresses that.
Right, the essay applies this to a mobile phone. The phone processes data, its screen lights up, it receives calls, but it has no internal concept of why it exists.
None whatsoever.
Only the human who designed and bought it knows its actual purpose.
And the plant analogy the author uses drives the point home even harder, I think.
Oh, the wheat?
Yeah. Humans plant wheat, rice, and vegetables. The farmer knows exactly what the value and significance of that wheat is.
They see the big picture.
Right. They know it will be watered, eventually harvested, milled into flour, and used to sustain human life or the economy. But the stalk of wheat growing in the dirt,
It has no idea.
absolutely no concept of its own value or significance. It merely responds to the sun and grows.
So what does this all mean?
Well, it sets up a very uncomfortable parallel.
Yeah, because we have established this rigid hierarchy where the lower level is blind to the higher level's design. The phone is defined by the human. The wheat is defined by the human. The pig is defined by the human.
Exactly.
But wait, if I am being completely honest here, comparing a human's complex existential dread to a stalk of wheat sitting in a field feels like a massive leap.
It does feel like a leap, sure.
I mean, we have complex language, we build civilizations, we create art, we launch literal telescopes into space. Does our incredible capacity for self-awareness not give us a VIP pass to understand our own meaning?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author's logic remains completely unwavering, regardless of how special or intelligent we feel we are.
Really, even with all our advancements.
Think back to that tired cow pulling the plow.
Okay.
The cow actually possesses a localized self-awareness. It knows it is pulling a heavy piece of wood. It feels the yoke chafing its neck. It knows it is physically exhausted and thirsty.
Right, it feels its own reality.
But that localized self-awareness of its own suffering does not magically grant it an understanding of human agricultural economics.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Knowing you are tired doesn't mean you understand what a farm is.
Or why the farmer needs the soil turned over in the first place.
That is kind of a brutal realization.
Precisely that. In this hierarchical framework, human self-awareness is viewed as just a highly complex version of the cow knowing it is tired.
Just a more complicated way of being tired.
Yeah. We can write beautiful, tragic poetry about our existential weariness. We can build massive online forums to debate the nature of suffering. But that doesn't mean our minds have zoomed out far enough to see the cosmic farm we're living on.
So we are just focused on the yoke.
Exactly. Our self-awareness gives us a highly detailed, high-definition view of our immediate surroundings, but it does not grant us insight into the grand design.
If I take this logic to its absolute limit, then my entire internal life, my hopes, my career ambitions, all the self-help books I read, it is all just the equivalent of a cow chewing its cud.
It is a humbling thought.
It feels incredibly important to me, but it is really just a localized process, keeping me functioning within a system I literally cannot see.
Right.
Which leads us to the most uncomfortable question of this entire deep dive.
Let's hear it.
Can humans know the meaning of human life?
The text gives a definitive, unflinching answer to that. Definitely not.
Definitely not. No ambiguity whatsoever.
None.
We are just as inherently blind to our true purpose as the cow is to the farm.
The author states unequivocally that we humans do not know our own ultimate value and significance.
So no amount of meditating is going to fix this.
Nope. To understand the actual meaning of human life, we cannot look inward through meditation, and we cannot look to each other through philosophy. The text dictates we must ask the higher-level life forms that created and actively manage humans.
Okay, think about how you manage a garden, or even how you manage your email inbox.
Right. You are the one in control.
You dictate the overarching rules. You decide what gets pruned, what gets saved, what gets deleted. The things being managed have absolutely zero say in the architecture of the system.
They are just subject to the rules.
Right. If humanity is being managed by higher-level life forms, it completely reframes all of human history. Like everything we think is a grand, self-directed human achievement might just be us growing exactly the way the gardener planted us to grow.
It is a wild thought experiment.
We aren't the main characters of the universe. We are the wheat.
It demands a profound, almost shattering level of humility.
It really does.
I mean, we are deeply accustomed to placing ourselves at the absolute pinnacle of the earthly hierarchy. We are the undisputed managers of the pigs, the dogs, the cows, the wheat, and the smartphones.
We love being at the top.
Of course. But the essay shifts from a neat philosophical theory to a literal structural view of the universe. It posits that the hierarchy doesn't miraculously stop with us just because we feel smart.
We are just middle management.
At best, there is a higher tier, perhaps several, and only those higher tier managers know the true meaning of human existence.
And what are we being farmed for? Like, the text doesn't explicitly spell out what our flour is, but the implication is staggering.
The unknown is the scariest part.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Are we generating some kind of spiritual energy? Is our civilization just processing data for a higher dimension?
It is entirely possible in this framework.
It paints a completely helpless picture. If I am trapped in this biological hardware, it sounds like I am doomed to ignorance. Why do we even have the urge to ask the question if we are biologically incapable of answering it?
It is a paradox, for sure.
Does the author offer any kind of upgrade path, or are we just stuck as wheat forever?
Well, the text does not leave humanity entirely without hope, but the solution it offers is incredibly demanding.
Oh, there is a loophole.
There is an exception to the rule of ignorance, but it requires fundamentally altering your state of existence.
Oh.
The author writes that the meaning of life becomes apparent only if someone possesses something called holographic thinking and actively practices and cultivates themselves.
Holographic thinking, that is a really dense term. Let's make sure we really define that, because it seems like the key to the whole escape hatch.
It absolutely is.
Like a normal photograph cut in half only shows half the picture, right?
Right, you lose half the data.
But the physics of a hologram are different. If you cut a holographic plate in half, every single tiny fragment still contains the entire 3D image, just at a lower resolution.
Yes.
So holographic thinking implies a mind that contains the blueprint of the entire cosmos, rather than just a flat, localized human perspective.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. I mean, moving from localized awareness to holographic awareness means you're no longer just looking at the plow.
You see the whole farm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are comprehending the entire farm from a multidimensional perspective. But the essay makes it clear that this isn't just a simple change in mindset.
It is not just reading a book.
No, it is not reading a transformative book and having a sudden aha moment. The text specifically states you must practice and cultivate yourself to literally become a higher level life form.
So you cannot just be a really smart, enlightened human. You have to stop being human altogether and become whatever is on that next tier up.
Precisely. And the text gives a specific name to this higher tier. You have to become a Chanyuan celestial.
A Chanyuan celestial.
Yes. In the context of this specific philosophy, a Chanyuan celestial isn't just a title you get for joining a club or mastering a meditation technique.
It is not a badge you wear.
No, it represents a literal evolutionary leap. It is a transcendent state of being. You are shedding your human operating system and ascending to the managerial level of the cosmos.
Oh, wow.
The core rule of the hierarchy remains perfectly intact, Lower levels cannot understand their meaning. Therefore, the only way to understand the meaning of human life is to stop being one.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I am thinking about that smartphone analogy again.
It's here.
If becoming a Chanyuan celestial requires cultivating holographic thinking, it is exactly like unlocking the hidden developer mode on your phone.
Oh, that is a great comparison.
Right. Like when you are just a standard user, you swipe on apps and look at photos. You don't know how it works, you just use it.
The front-end experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you unlock developer mode, you suddenly have access to the source code.
Yeah.
You can see the battery diagnostics, the background processes, the raw data streams that make the whole interface work.
You see what is actually happening.
Yeah. You transition from being the object that is blindly used by the software to the entity that actually understands the underlying programming.
Accessing developer mode is the perfect metaphor for cultivation in this framework. You are trying to gain access to the universe's source code.
It really is.
But the text ends on a highly specific, almost secretive note regarding who actually possesses this developer access.
The cliffhanger.
Yes. The author, Daeform Buddha, concludes the essay with a massive cliffhanger. He states, "I know a little bit, but unless you become a Chanyuan celestial, I won't, nor dare, tell you the meaning of life."
The phrase "dare not" is the part that really sticks with me there.
It is very striking.
Like, it is not just, I won't tell you because it is a closely guarded secret for my exclusive group. It is, I dare not.
This raises an important question, right? What is the danger?
Exactly.
It implies a catastrophic consequence to sharing higher-level knowledge with a lower-level form.
Because if we look back at the pig analogy, the text was explicit. If the pig knew its ultimate fate, the horror would render it unable to function.
The system requires ignorance to run smoothly.
Yes. If someone were to just walk up to a regular human, someone still operating on standard, localized human hardware, and somehow download the ultimate cosmic truth of our utility into their brain, what happens?
According to the internal logic of the essay, it would likely break the human being entirely.
Just a complete system crash.
Yeah. Just as the pig would be paralyzed by the truth of the slaughterhouse, perhaps a human mind would be fundamentally shattered by the true knowledge of its cosmic utility.
We would just stop.
We might stop building, stop loving, stop participating in society altogether.
That makes a lot of sense.
So the secrecy surrounding the knowledge of the Chanyuan celestials, therefore, isn't about elitism. It is deeply protective.
You are protecting the wheat from the knowledge of the harvest.
Exactly. You literally cannot be handed the data until you have cultivated the holographic thinking necessary to process it without crashing your system.
You have to fundamentally upgrade your hardware before you can safely run the software.
That is the only way.
If you aren't a Chanyuan Celestial, you simply aren't ready for the truth of the farm.
It is a phenomenal lingering hook.
It really is. It leaves you staring at the ceiling, wondering what kind of grueling cultivation is actually required to shed your humanity, and what that terrifying little bit of knowledge the author possesses actually looks like.
It is a masterful way to conclude the argument, honestly. It takes this incredibly vast, abstract concept of a cosmic hierarchy and distills it into a direct personal challenge to the reader.
Right. It says the objective truth of your existence does exist, but you are currently entirely inadequate to receive it.
A tough pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but logically consistent within the framework.
So let's pull all of these massive concepts together, because we have covered some serious philosophical ground today.
We really have.
We started this journey standing in that metaphorical bookstore, surrounded by the comfortable, modern idea that we are the sole masters of our own destiny.
The DIY meaning.
Right. The idea that we can just invent our own life's purpose on a whim. And from there, the source text walked us into a rigid, vertically structured universe where our deepest internet debates are just amusing noise to whoever's watching from above.
We explored a hierarchy where our celebrated human self-awareness is really no more insightful than a tired cow realizing its yoke is heavy.
Which is so humbling.
We are managed by higher-level life forms, just as we manage the wheat in the fields and the smartphones in our pockets. We are inherently, structurally blind to our ultimate cosmic utility.
Unless, of course, we put in the work to cultivate holographic thinking, transcend our biological limitations, and ascend to become a Chanyuan celestial.
Only then does the universe's source code reveal itself.
I really want you to think about this the next time you feel totally overwhelmed by the societal pressure to find your purpose or to find your why.
Because that pressure is everywhere.
It is everywhere.
Oh,
But according to this text, finding your ultimate meaning might literally be impossible for you right now. And if it is biologically and spiritually impossible, then it is decidedly not your job to figure it out today.
you know, relinquishing the massive burden of cosmic definition is strangely liberating.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have to build your own meaning from scratch if you are already part of a design.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building strictly on the author's analogies of the cosmic farm. If we follow the text's logic that pigs and cows absolutely wouldn't be able to function if they knew their true purpose, consider this. What if human anxiety about the meaning of life is actually a feature, not a bug?
Oh, that is a wild thought.
Right. Think about the stalk of wheat. If a stalk of wheat suddenly stopped growing, stopped absorbing water and sunlight because it was too busy trying to figure out the meaning of agriculture, it would be a terrible crop.
It would wither and die before the harvest.
Exactly. So perhaps our relentless, frustrating inability to know our ultimate meaning isn't a tragic blind spot at all. Maybe the endless searching, the philosophy, the self-help books, maybe that is the exact mechanism that keeps us plowing the field for whatever higher-level life form is managing us. Are you trying so hard to understand the architecture of the farm that you are forgetting to just be a good crop?